Hello students, in previous video we have started with organisms and population chapter. In that we have seen some of the basic concept related to it. In this video we are going to start with abiotic factors of the environment which is responsible for the living organism survival. In that light is an important abiotic factor because it is responsible for some of the autotrophs are producing food or preparing food by making use of this sunlight. So light is very important abiotic factor. There are some of the organisms grouped based on the requirement of the light. Cyophytes, small herbaceous plants and some shrubs live under a canopy of the forest, so that they are living in very less availability of the sunlight. Then too they are trying to survive, or they are capable of survival. So such kind of plants which can survive in very less light intensity or sunlight intensity, such kind of plants are called cyophytes. They can survive and grow also. The animals use the seasonal variations in the light intensity and photoperiod as cues for timing of forage, reproduction and migration. So animals are using seasonal variation, different season, their seasonal variations are responsible for their different kind of life processes. Like for example, though some of the animals can show the reproduction during when the light intensity is low, some of the animals can show their process of reproduction when their light intensity is more. So they are a winter breeder or summer breeder likewise. So animals are also getting influenced with the availability of light. The distribution of red, green and brown algae at different depths of the water depends on the light, because red and brown algae does not require more sunlight, so they are present at the deeper strata of the sea, but the green algae require sunlight for their photosynthesis and survival, so they are probably found on the surface of the ocean. Soil, next factor of the ecosystem is soil. The nature and properties of the soil depends on the climate, weathering process, etc. Weathering process means formation of soil. This weathering of the soil is taking place with the help of from the rock to form the soil. The physical and chemical properties of the soil determine the type of plant can grow in the particular habitat. That means some chemical and physical factors which are required for the plant growth and development, if they are available in the soil is capable of growing plants, or the maximum plants will be found in that particular soil. The characteristic features of the bottom sediments of the aquatic environment determine type of benthic animals that can live there. So if it is not only true for the land, but also the living organisms which are present in the water. So the animals which are present in the water, they are also responsible for growth when the sediments, that means deep soil present below the sea, how is the quality of it, based on that they are surviving. Next is organism responses to environment. So different kind of organisms show different kind of response to particular change climatic condition. So what different kind of responses are seen in that? First is regulation. The organism maintain homeostasis in the constant body temperature and osmotic concentration, so that their body temperature and constant internal environment should be maintained. This quality of the animal or organism is called homeostasis, and this process, when they are following, they are trying to regulate their body. Next is confrontation, conformation. Conformation is nothing but kind of quality of the living organism in which they are unable to show the kind of maintenance of their internal environment. So majority, that means 99% of animals and plants cannot maintain a constant internal environment. Such animals and plants are simply called ascoformers. So they are unable to maintain their internal temperature or internal conditions of the body. Their body temperature varies according to ambient temperature, means whatever is the environmental temperature, their body also shows the same temperature. Fluctuation will be seen in their body temperature according to the change body temperature. In aquatic animals, the osmotic concentration of body fluid varies with ambient water osmotic concentration. So, in aquatic animals also the osmotic concentration of the body grows or varies based on the aquatic concentration or osmotic concentration of the water. Thermoregulation is energy expensive process that is responsible for maintaining the temperature of the body. The heat loss or gain is a function of the surface area. Therefore, small animals are not found in the polar region because they are unable to show they are responsible for not having thermoregulation. They cannot regulate their body temperature. So, migration is one of the characteristic feature of the living organism when they are moving from one place to another place, and that is for temporary purpose. When they are unable to tolerate a particular situation of their own habitat, that time what does they do? They are trying to move themselves from the stressful condition to the less stressful condition, so that they will be surviving, and for a period of time they live there and again they come back to original place. That process of temporary dispersal of the organism is called migration. Suspension. Organism that cannot migrate, they are responsible for showing suspension. So they suspend themselves because suspension means they are reducing the rate of metabolism of their body, and this is because of the stressful condition. Because they cannot migrate from one place to another place, they are lowering their metabolism, so that automatically they will be trying to survive in changed climatic condition. For example, the suspension is of three types: hibernation, aestivation and diapause. In that first is hibernation. Hibernation is the process by which animals avoid the stress and become inactive during winter. So during winter, when the animals are becoming inactive and they are hiding themselves during winter season, this process is called hibernation. It is found in polar bear, frogs and lizard. Next is aestivation. This aestivation process in which the animals avoid the stressful and conditions of the summer. So summer related problems, and they are trying to avoid and become inactive during summer. Such kind of organism which are becoming inactive during summer, they are following the process called aestivation. For example, snails and fishes. Next is diapause. This is the process or the stage of suspended development seen in many zooplankton. So in zooplanktons means they are the plants of the water, means aquatic plants which are called zooplanktons. They are avoiding unfavorable condition in their own way, and this is called diapause. Next is adaptation. Adaptation is one of the thing or process which is majorly followed by maximum living organism. Adaptation is any changes of the organism, that means organism tries to survive in changed climatic condition by changing their morphological character, by changing their physiological character, modifying their self internally or externally, or else behavioral changes they are showing, that enables them to survive and reproduce in changed climatic condition. Adaptations have evolved over a long period of time and are genetically controlled. For example, desert plant have thick cuticle on leaf surface. So their desert plants show thick cuticle on their surface of the leaf. They are showing the sunken stomata, means shrink stomata. Stomata size become shrink or become reduced. That is called sunken stomata. Next is leaf modifies into spines, so maximum leaves are becoming spines. So that is the way by which they are trying to avoid water loss. Due to CAM pathway photosynthesis, the stomata remains closed during daytime. So they follow, desert plant usually follow CAM pathway. In CAM pathway, plants are opening their stomata during night time. They are collecting carbon dioxide during night time and storing it. During daytime, they are utilizing, so that they are not opening their stomata during daytime. So this is the characteristic feature which is found in the desert plant to avoid the water loss. For example, Opuntia, cactus, etc. The aquatic plants have evolved parenchyma for buoyancy. So parenchyma is the modified parenchymatous tissue which is filling with the air spaces and which is making the part of the body of the plant light weight. This is called buoyancy. Once they are achieving with buoyancy, they are floating on the water, and so they can float on the water and survive in the water. As well as their leaves have waxy covering, so that this waxy coating makes repulsion of the water, or water repellent characteristic feature they have, so that they are not trying to hold the water, and they will be surviving within the water without destroying their plant part, because it is covered with the wax. Desert animal, in that example we can take kangaroo rat, living in the desert of the North America, never drink water because his body fat he is oxidizing, that is called uh, fat oxidation. This fat oxidation is the process in which the fat is broken down and generating energy, and side product or byproduct of this fat oxidation is water. So the water is released automatically from the process of fat oxidation. So he does not need water to drink, he just try to maintain the water which he has generated. Then he is trying to concentrate his urine, so that through excretion also he should not release water out of his body, it should be maintained inside the body. For that purpose he is trying to show the minimal loss of the water during excretion process, and this is the way this kangaroo rat is trying to maintain water in his body. Allen's rule. Allen's rule is nothing but a kind of rule that states that animals from colder climates generally have the shorter ears and limbs to minimize the heat loss. So it is observed that those who live in the cold climatic condition, generally they have short limbs. Short limbs means hand, leg, like that way limbs they are bearing short in size, as well as they are having less ear, so that size of the ear, so that they will be showing less loss of the heat, and they will be maintaining their body temperature. In polar seals have a thick layer of the fat below their skin, so that fat layer below the skin is responsible for acting as a insulator, and this will be protecting their body, keeping their body warm and protecting their body in the cold climatic condition. It reduces loss of body heat. Short ear and limbs minimize the heat loss. Desert lizard keep their body temperature constant by behavioral adaptation. They bask in the sun and absorb the heat when their body temperature decreases below the comfort zone. So this is one of the characteristic feature of desert lizard. They are trying to keep their body cool, and whenever they need the heat and they feel that their body is becoming cool, they will be trying to bask the sunlight and absorb the heat whenever their body needs the temperature, and from the comfort zone when it is reduced. Burrowing habit also helps to protect desert animals from the higher temperature. So in desert condition, the animals to survive, there is lot of heat present on the surface of the land. So they try to burrow and remain inside that burrows, so that their body temperature will be maintained. Next point is population attributes. Population is a group of individuals living in a particular geographical area. It has certain attributes. They are, attributes means factors. They are birth rate, death rate, sex ratio, population density, etc. These are the 4 attributes of the population. A population at any given time is composed of individuals of different age group. So if any individual species is taken, their age group wise population will be different. And according to that, if we categorize the population, we get pre-reproductive, reproductive and post-reproductive stage. And according to that also, if we count the individual, we find the variation. Pre-reproductive means the age where they have not initialized the process of reproduction. Reproductive means they are capable of showing reproduction, and post-reproduction means they have stopped reproduction after then that kind of age people to count. These are the 3 different areas where we can find the population of each group of a species. Age pyramid. So the age pyramid is shown in the picture over here. If the age distribution is plotted for a population, the resulting structure is called age pyramid. So by knowing the age of the whole population, we can plot the graph, and the graph will be responsible for showing a pyramid. So age pyramid is nothing but a kind of structure which is constructed or based on the age distribution of the individual of the particular species. For human population, the age pyramid shows the age distribution of males and females in a combined diagram. So male and female are shown in a combined diagram, so that you will be finding that in case of male, pre-reproductive, reproductive and post-reproductive organisms are how many, and in case of female, pre-reproductive, reproductive and post-reproductive organisms are how many. The shape of pyramid reflects the growth status of the population, that is an expanding or a growth population, a stable population or decline population. If the pyramid is growing, then it is a growth of the population. If it is not growing, it is a stable population. And if it is declining, that means it is a declining population. Population growth, it is depend on the size of population keeps changing. So it is depend on the time, depending on the different factor like food available, weather, pressure and competition. These are the 4 factors based on which the population is depend, or the growth of population is controlled by these 4 factors: food available, weather, predator pressure and competition. The density of a population in a given habitat during a given period changes due to 4 basic things. Natality, that is denoted by N, mortality denoted by M, immigration denoted by I, and immigration denoted by E. The natality and immigration contribute to increase in the size and density of the population. That means the natality is nothing but the birth rate. Mortality is nothing but the death rate. Immigration means the population is traveling in the geographical area. From outside to inside that geographical area, entry of the population is more. And immigration means from the population to outside, when the individuals are going out. So going out of the population is called immigration. So mortality is the death rate and immigration is going out, the population who is going out. This together contributes the decreasing in the population. And increasing population responsible factor are natality, that means birth rate, and immigration means the incoming number of individuals in the population. So the equation for the population growth is NT means NT is equal to N0. NT means the density of the population at a particular time is equal to N0 means at the beginning or before that time, in the beginning what was the population density, plus B in bracket B plus I minus D plus E. Here the each letter is explained down there. NT means population density at a particular time, N0 means population density in the beginning, then B means birth rate, I means immigration. Okay, immigration means the population which is coming in, D means death rate, and E means immigration means the population that is going out. So sum of the B and I, that means birth rate and immigration, and death rate plus immigration, when the addition is done from the birth rate and immigration minus the death rate and immigration, then it will be a kind of density of the population at the particular time. Population growth models. There are different kind of growth models are given. In that, two models are very important. First is exponential growth model. When the resources availability is limited in the habitat, the population grows in the exponential or geometric fashion. That means it grows tremendously. So if you see the graph, you will understand the graph is exponential, either grows tremendously or it goes to a stable. Okay, so exponential growth model is when the resources availability is unlimited, there are so many resources available in that area and in that habitat, and the population keeps on growing by making use of that unlimited source or resources, and there will be exponential growth of the population seen. The equation will be dn by dt is equal to b minus d into n. In that, b minus d is birth rate minus death rate is equal to r. Then the equation becomes dn by dt is equal to rn. B minus d it was, and now it has assumed r, so rn. N is the population density at time. R is the intrinsic rate of natural increase in the population. When a population shows exponential growth, the curve plotted with the n in relation to the time assume J shape. So it becomes J shape when the exponential growth of the population is seen and the graph is plotted. The curve becomes J shape. Second is logistic growth model. This logistic growth model has no population can continue to grow exponentially as the resources are available limited. So as the resources are limited, the population growth is also limited at certain point of time. It will become vanish also if it is not used properly. It is described by the equation dn by dt is equal to rn into k minus n upon k. So in that, n is population density at time, r is equal to intrinsic rate of natural increase, then k is carrying capacity. Carrying capacity means the habitat can carry how many living organism or can give chance to survival of how many living organism is called carrying capacity of that environment. So carrying capacity of the environment is also considered. That is why dn by dt is equal to rn into bracket k minus n divided by k, bracket close. This is the equation for logistic growth of the population. Life history variations. Evolution of population aims at improving the reproductive fitness to the maximum in their habitat. So that if the maximum reproductive fitness will be there of the living organism in a particular habitat, it will be found that the population will grow tremendously in that habitat. Most bird and mammals breed many times during their lifetime. So breeding capacity of most of the birds and mammals is maximum. They don't show seasonal breeding. They shows continuous and at the maximum rate breeding. According to ecologists, life history traits of an organism have evolved in relation to the constraints imposed by biotic and abiotic factor in their habitat. So, according to history traits of an organism, it is observed that the evolution in relation with the constraint imposed by abiotic and biotic factor in their habitat has major role. So, whatever evolution and changes in generation after generations are taking place, that is nothing but a kind of imposement or influence of the biotic and abiotic factor of that area, of that habitat. So we have learned in this video maximum content of the chapter. Remaining points of this chapter we will learn in next video. Bye bye.